Welcome back to Crypto Front. This is the front line where we are fighting together side by side for financial freedom. It really has been long since my last update on Zebec. I think the last time we were talking about Zebec, we were still looking very much bearish. I remember I was posting, about this symmetrical triangle on Zebec, and I still have got the chart saved on my trading view, and this was the symmetrical triangle that we were talking about, saying the price would actually be dropping. Fortunately, I think for now, this is not going to be the main topic. I think we're going to be trying to look at something that is a little bit much more optimistic here for the Zebec price. So in this video, I will be showing you the optimistic things that I'm talking about. I think we will also talk about, the potential bad things that can happen with the price so that we can actually, just be prepared for what is what. But I think I have to say from the beginning of the video that I'm actually being much more optimistic than pessimistic at this point, right? So let's get right into it. I'll just go ahead and delete everything here so that we start over. And we have got an optimistic structure that I just mentioned a moment ago. And that is this, maybe for some people, a weird looking structure, which we can see that we've got a bottom here. And then, of course, another bottom also there that looks like a double bottom, right? But that's not really enough to be optimistic about. I think if we just go back a little bit and try to see where Zebec is coming from, we would actually realize that it was no fluke where the price is bouncing or where the price bounced off of, because that has always been an area of traffic dating as far back as like May 2024. You can see from, a bigger wake of accumulation, perspective that we have talked about all year on Zebec, that, it looked like we were just backtesting the, breakout range of the wake of accumulation pattern. So the question becomes, well, if we're going to be bouncing here from that support, do we actually have a bottoming structure on top, or something that looks like it can go ahead and expand and push the Zebec price towards the upside? That is the main focus of this video, and there are a few things that I'm going to be showing you. So let's go back to the structure one more time, this weird looking thing that I was talking about, and we realize that this is actually not that weird. I mean, we have seen structures like this before. I will be giving you two quick examples of, how those things have played out in the past, right? Before we get to the examples, I want you to pay attention to the double bottoming phenomenon that you see there. And then, of course, on top, it also appears that there is some kind of double top that happens by this. So you have got a double top on top and a double bottom, at the bottom, of course. And I think we have a structure exactly like that here, which was leading to the bottoming of the Zbcn price at back in 2023, I should be saying. And if I may just repeat those things one more time, I think you can see that there is, the double bottom at the bottom, of course, and then, of course, a double top here forming something like an M pattern. Then from there, the price finds a way to break out. As you can see, it has to still face the resistance of the double top if it is going to be going ahead and expanding. So that is, way too early for Zebec to talk about right now, because what we'll be expecting then is maybe for the price to get back to the resistance of the double top, which would be something like 0.006 thereabout. I mean, it's not really far from where the price is, to be honest with you. If we just go ahead and try to measure how far we are right around maybe a 75% away from that level. But it was not only the Zbcn price which was an example of something like that. I think you can also see the same thing with the XRP dominance by there, that you have again the double bottom kind of phenomenon that happens at the lows, and before you head there, you have somewhat of an M pattern that shows up right there. Again, if you're going to be going into any sort of expansion, I think it's very much clear that you have to be fighting these resistances. Now for XRP, it's looking like it has been able to break those resistances. So we'll see if XRP goes ahead and, breaks out. The reason why I'm giving this kind of example, even though it hasn't broken out yet, is because Zebec is also still down here. So if it can pull off something like this, this is going to be epic in my humble opinion. But this is where we are right now. We are still, on our journey towards 0.006, I would say, as the main resistance by them. However, I mean, it's not going to be, a piece of cake for Zebec to go ahead and do something like that, because we can also see that we have a number of resistance levels also. As I'm drawing right now, there is this downward stopping resistance. We are slightly trending above that level, that is good, but it's not definitive yet. We also had a similar structure back in, May this year, and you can see that Zebec broke above it, but for some days it tended to just try to backtest that resistance and turn it into a support level. Then eventually it managed to push. So I mean, just, a recency bias here will actually be anticipating at least maybe for Zebec to, break and close a daily candle, maybe right around 0.0036, then about then maybe a few days hang out here before it, finds a way to go back to that 0.006 that we were talking about. Of course, none of these things can be guaranteed. What we have to look at is like, okay, on a likelihood scale, how likely is it that we break this resistance and we continue the journey towards, the upside, at least towards that resistance which we just mentioned from the two structures, both Zbcn and XRP. And so far, I think we are building a good case, a strong one, to say, it's very much possible that we can be leading towards 0.006 here for Zebec. But maybe those two reasons are not enough. What we also want to look at is what the indicators are saying here for Zebec. I think over the last few years, it has been very clear where Zebec bounces. And if you have been following me over there on X, you have seen definitely when I post about the relative strength index here, RSI indicator on Zebec is pretty much consistent, right? When you hit around the 30 mark here, you happen to have a bounce, and that's what we also did in the last few days. Unfortunately, just because I'm very much busy these days, I can't find time for videos. I post every now and then on X, okay, but some people may not be seeing those. So again, what we have here is the RSI bouncing out of that 30 mark. There is also, of course, another phenomenon that we have seen with me to say that, okay, after you have bounced out of that 30 mark here, you get to the 50 mark, right? That has been an area of kind of resistance. You can see the previous valleys as well, but once you break that here, you go and have a good size rally. So we're currently doing that right now. We will be seeing in the next 2 days how the price behaves. Does it keep trending above that 50 mark on the RSI? Then that also, in my humble opinion, helps matters here with the structure. So if we're having all those things in our favor, I think the better our chances are gonna be. Now we're also looking at another major thing in this market, which is the Bitcoin dominance. And this one has really behaved very much differently this market cycle. Usually for a great out season, we want to see the Bitcoin dominance falling, right? I have to say right at this point, there is a chance that we are having something like that, as you see that we are breaking trend here, and the recent rally that we had in the Bitcoin dominance just looks up until this point like it's a back test, flipping this support into a resistance. And if it really continues trending down here, that is great, because that will be suggesting that money is actually flowing out of Bitcoin and supporting altcoins. Now Zebec having a great community and a fundamental project, I think it's also logical to expect that some capital will be coming to pump the Zebec price a little bit. So that's one other thing that we are looking at. I was also trying to figure out how Zebec is performing relative to the rest of the market. So this is the Zebec price versus others. We are at an interesting point right now. As you can see, we have got a resistance touch point here, a second one, and then maybe the third one that we have right now. We are at crossroads. We are currently at crossroads. However, if we see the price breaking out of this, that is going to be indicating that Zebec is likely going to be, relatively strong than the rest of, other altcoins. And that's good, because you really want to be in a win, all right? So, a very interesting point right now. Should we get a rejection here, that's not going to be looking too good. But I think at this point, we're just going to have to give the chart some time to go ahead and decide what it wants to do. But the case is there that Zebec can go ahead and touch that, 0.0065. That is around like a 75% from where we are right now. And then from there, it really remains to be seen if we're going to be breaking into a new all-time high and stuff. Those kind of things are really usually determined by the kind of momentum that we see, particularly from the futures market. And I'm also looking at the funding raise here for Zebec for quite some time. The open interest has been trending towards the downside along with the price. But if you also take a look at the funding rate, it appears as if we've got more people shorting the price right now. So I think the more they short the price, that is, the more likely the price is going to be pushing towards the upside, because there are many more people to liquidate. So we'll see if this data changes anytime soon. But that was the full analysis here on Zebec. It looks as if we've got a strong structure in terms of like momentum pushing up. We're also waiting for the Bitcoin dominance to play ball here. A little bit of volume coming in here for Zebec, but not really that much. We're also seeing that the futures volume is way, higher 3 times than the spot volume. So what the longs and the shorts are going to be doing there really affects the price. I hope they short a lot, and when they do that, they will be liquidated, right? So we'll see what eventually happens right there. I want to thank you so much for watching the video. If you could, please delicately tap the like button, share the video with your friends and family, and I'll see you on the next one. Take good care of yourselves. Bye bye.